here's the thing I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking a position. I'm sounding this out. One of
Right.
the things they teach you in law school is how to spot issues.
Yeah.
How do you spot issues in a set of facts? How do you find something that cries out for further analysis? So let's go to last night. The Packers have the ball, third quarter. It's 1st and 10 on their own 17 after a punt. Jordan Love rolls to the left, and wide ass open is Christian Watson at the 50. There's Love. He's rolling. He sees Watson. He throws a little rainbow there. And then Watson makes the move to the outside, cuts it up, and it looks like he's going to go. And inside the 15, Marcus Peters grabs him by the back of the shirt collar and throws him down. Blatant violation of the horse collar tackle.
Yeah.
Textbook. Although it didn't drag him down onto his legs, that's exactly what has been written out of the rule book for some 20 years, thanks to your former Texas teammate, Roy Williams.
No, it was the Oklahoma teammate.
Not your teammate.
That
your
jerk
former
from
nemesis,
Oklahoma,
Roy Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
The Roy Williams that came
He was doing it to
Supermaning
everybody.
over the pile.
Right. Yeah.
I saw it a few times this past weekend.
Thank
for some
you very
reason.
much.
I don't know
Thank
why.
you. Hey, I got an itch in my head. Screw you. Yes.
that Roy Williams was doing it to everybody. He broke Terrell Owens' leg in 2004, if you remember that. He came back from it very heroically and played in the Super Bowl. So here's the conversation. Here's the issue that I spotted based upon my general knowledge of the rule book. I don't profess to have, former referee knowledge of the rule book, but I've studied the thing a few times. It's kind of like the NFL's law book. And as somebody who used to practice law, I'm fascinated by the way those rules are interpreted, the way they're written, what they mean, what they don't mean, and how they're applied, because a lot of times they're not applied the way they're written. So my first thought was, okay, we've never seen this happen before. I don't remember ever seeing guy who is on his way to the end zone and the last chance of getting him uses the horse collar tackle to pull him down. We've never seen that. It's been 20 years since they've made it illegal. And there's just something about it to me that was like, you're using a technique that the league has decided long ago is unsafe. You're using that as the way to bring a guy down who otherwise is going to score a touchdown. There's something about that doesn't sit right with me, because you're consciously embracing the risk of injury. You're consciously inflicting the potential injury on the player with a "we don't do this anymore" type of a play to save a touchdown. And to me, that's different from, for example, the receiver who's wide open inside the 5, the ball's coming in, and you just knock him down, you shove him down so he doesn't catch the pass because you don't want to give up the touchdown. Because you're not using an inherently unsafe technique to shove him down. You're not horse collaring him to shove him down. You're just interfering so he can't catch the pass. That's the difference to me. This is unsafe action used to avoid a touchdown. And the reason this even occurred to me is in the rule book.
Because you picked the Packers to win? That's why.
That's part of it. That's part of it. I was mad that the Packers didn't score. That was the flame.
Right.
But then I started thinking about it.
I hear you.
And here's the thing that's in the rule book. It's in the rule book 17 different times, and they never use it. And I'm not saying they should have used it here. All I'm saying is they need to have the conversation about this.
Yeah.
The rule book allows for a touchdown to be awarded in the event of what the officials deem to be a palpably unfair act. Now, palpably is just a fancy-sounding synonym for noticeably or clearly. Now, unfair, violation of the rules, I don't know when a violation of the rules becomes unfair. And let me give you a couple of examples.
Yeah.
If someone would run off the sideline,
that's what I was thinking,
and tackle somebody who's clearly on their way to the end.
Mike Tomlin tripping maybe the kick returner that time, right? But he didn't.
Listen,
I know, but
that's an example.
Right.
Jacoby Jones, Thanksgiving night. That's an example
Right.
of where the officials could have said, that's a palpably unfair act. We're giving the Ravens the touchdown. They could have done that. But even though it's in the rule book 17 different times, they never use it. It's laughable. You've never heard them apply it. I defy anyone out there to find a piece of tape where anything is done for one team over another team because of a palpably unfair act. And there's one specific example that's fascinating to me, because I remember when I was a kid reading about somebody, I think from the Colts, who blocked a field goal at the crossbar, jumped up and blocked it before it could go through.
Right.
Used to be permissible.
Yeah.
Now it's not. And the rule book specifically says if that happens, the officials may award 3 points
right.
for a palpably unfair act because you're not allowed to go back there and block the field goal at the crossbar. So my point here is this. If the NFL is truly committed to player safety, well, let's do this before I say that. Let's hear from Josh McDaniels praising Marcus Peters after the game for using a violent and unsafe maneuver, which is proven to break limbs, as a way to bring down Christian Watson and avoid a touchdown. Here's McDaniels praising Peters for what he did.
Yeah, and talk to Marcus. It's the right penalty. That's a really smart play in a critical time in the game. And, if it's the first quarter in the middle of the field, you don't want a horse collar, but if you're saving a touchdown on a long play like that, you at least give yourself a chance to play a few more downs, which he did.
Okay. Now, I wrote the story at PFT and I posted some tweets last night before I was even aware he said that. Because at one point I said, folks, you got to ask yourself, does the NFL want defensive coaches to say to their players, if all else fails, rip him down by the back of his collar. If he breaks his leg, so be it. We at least saved a touchdown. I don't think you want that if you're the NFL. So all I'm saying is, because we know how they are. They're not proactive, Chris. They never would have thought of this on their own. It's something that has to happen, and now they decide, do we want this to happen again? I just think they at least need to have a responsible conversation as to whether or not, if that ever happens again, they should just award the touchdown so you don't have Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick, and all the other coaches now saying, hey, guys, if all else fails, just pull him down by the horse collar. I'll praise you for it. I won't say, well, we still don't want that technique in the game. It's an unsafe maneuver. He could have really hurt Christian Watson by doing it. All he said is, hey, save the touchdown. That's all that matters. So my point is, I think they should at least have a responsible conversation about whether or not that should be allowed or encouraged or rewarded.
Right. I understand that. Yeah, I think the rule, as it's stated 17 times, like you said, is probably more in there for, like we were talking about, the coach being on the field, a fan running out and tripping a guy when he's about to score a touchdown, kind of stuff like that. But I don't disagree with you that there's some merit to having this conversation there. You're basically...
That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Let's have the conversation.
You're basically saying like NBA fast break rule, right? Where they foul a guy and you go, oh, he's about to dunk it and he's got everybody right, and they foul him before he even gets the pass when he's like 20 feet in front of everybody, right? He's about to be a breakaway. You're kind of saying the same thing there. Like, that's a touchdown, right? You give it to him, and that was unfair. I get that. I do. I don't know. I'd have to think about it more about what the unintended consequences there are. Now, I will say, with Marcus Peters, right, and you're right, coaches are going to say, hey, great job. Just do what you got to do in this moment.
It's going to be in the meetings now.
Players
hey,
and
guys,
coaches
look at this.
Players and coaches are humans, and they don't want to see guys hurt players. They don't want to see that. And I do think Marcus Peters is smart enough and a veteran player enough to know, at least when he did that right there, he didn't throw his legs down and his body weight down and do it that way. He kind of just got on him.
He's trying to get him to the ground. I don't think he's thinking about it. He's just trying to get him down.
I think players are smart enough in the moment to realize, hey, wait, I got him in a bad spot, and I'm not going to just drop my weight now and do that. And I think he's smart enough to kind of have a heart or a soul there to do that. Either way, it's a dangerous play.
I think there's too much going on in that moment to consciously think that. I think he was saying, I got to get this guy down no matter what.
We've seen guys over the middle. They've all adjusted their things in split seconds. They can think that quickly. I do. But either way, I think your point's real. You're right. And that was a huge moment. And I will praise Marcus Peters as well because, again, within the rules and the way they are right now, that was the smart football play. But you're right. As far as player safety is concerned and all that, I don't know. Maybe there does need to be some sort of remedy or at least you review it, whatever. I don't know how that goes down, but it certainly was an interesting moment that I had the kind of the same thought you did when I saw it happen.
The difference is it's a safety rule that's implicated. That's why they need to have the conversation. Because if you're serious about your safety rules, you come up with ways to seal off strategically breaking the safety rules for your gain. That's the main point here. If you're going to have a safety rule that you feel strongly about, you better be willing to protect that rule and discourage anyone from breaking that rule for some sort of a gain on the field. For example, and I'm trying to think of another way this could apply. If you've got a quarterback who is standing without anyone coming at him, and there's a guy open 50 yards down the field, and you've got a defender who sees, holy crap, there's a guy open standing alone, and the only way I'm going to prevent the quarterback from throwing this ball is to hit him in the head or take out his knees. Again, we're getting into this area of, okay, it's good to do it because you help your team win, but you're violating a safety rule to help your team win, to help your team get some positive result. And it's all part, I think, of the evolution of the NFL's obsession, rightfully so, with player safety. You put in
not
these
that
rules,
obsessed,
you take out techniques,
yeah.
but you see what I'm saying. I mean,
I'm talking about the player surface, the playing surface, but I got you. You're right. You're right. I
with
hear
the
you.
rules, creating the perception that they care about player safety.
Right.
How about that? They're obsessed with creating the perception that they care. So, if they're obsessed with creating the perception that they care, when your safety rules can be manipulated, can be deliberately violated in a way that helps one team, I just think if you truly care about the safety aspect, you at least need to have the conversation among the competition committee. And, I can hear Rich McKay now, well, we have to consider the unintended consequences. Well, we think that's an extreme situation. It's rarely going to happen because they don't like to do anything, especially after the pass interference replay review debacle of 2019. That's their ultimate pass for not doing anything big because we may screw it up again. But to me, this is a very narrow, very specific, very rare circumstance. If you're the last guy and you use the horse collar to bring that guy down, and he's otherwise scoring a touchdown, they just should have the conversation, whether that's something you want to encourage or discourage by saying it's not going to matter because we're going to give him the touchdown and you're going to get fined. Yeah. That's the other thing about these half the distance penalties. It was a 3-yard penalty.
Yeah, no, it was
cares?
brilliant. Yeah.
It's a 3-yard penalty.
That's right.
It was smart within the confines of the rules,
right.
But he was using a rule that is specifically there for the safety of his fellow man.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, hey, listen, the thing I think about, I guess, is, hey, if he had long hair and the guy just pulled him down by his hair, it's legal, right? Because that's on it.
Well, that's right.
That's
right.
There's some weird
it's a legal
things.
Play.
Right. So that's kind of weird to it. Horse collar at times can be subjective. I mean, last Thursday night that was Thursday night, the Bears-Washington game, I saw a guy get tackled from the front of his horse, and they called a horse collar, and it was wrong. And I believe Terry McCauley came on and said that's not a horse collar. Horse collar has to be in the back of the nameplate inside the jersey and shoulder pad frame there. Right. So I guess those are some things I just think about unintended consequences too. And, I like you said, it's worth talking and having having that conversation too. But I guess there's a part of me that sit here and could argue, hey, guy wide open down the field, and he's sitting there waiting for the ball, and somebody cleans his clock before the ball gets there because, oh no, he's wide open, so I'm not going to play the ball. So are we going to just give them touchdowns now too and go, well, he might have scored there, and that was unnecessary roughness, and he didn't need to do that and hit them there. That's where I think it opens up a can of worms, Mike.
Right, and this is a very specific, very narrow thing. We have a safety rule that's been in place for 20 years, and we've seen a guy deliberately violate it for strategic reasons, and it's just a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah.
I still think it's different with pass interference because you can disrupt the guy from catching the ball without doing something that is inherently unsafe.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Removed from the permissible techniques on a football field. And this isn't, I mean, if I had my choice, which I don't, and they don't care what I think about it, I would say under that circumstance, it probably should be a touchdown awarded because you don't want to encourage a guy to do a horse collar tackle as the last line of defense to bring a guy down. All I'm saying is they should have the conversation. They're the ones who are paid. They're the ones who are the stewards of the sport, and I think it's responsible to at least have the conversation. It's not going to happen very often. It may happen once every 20 years.
No, well, that's what I was going to say.
Right?
That's why I think it's on
rare.
The radar. Let's continue to gather evidence on it. But you're right. Yeah, that's going to be their defense to go, well, we don't need to do anything about it because it only happens once every 20 years.
It never happens.
Right. So that'll be the
And Chris, here's the last point, too. Yeah. You mentioned that they got one wrong the other night. For something like that, you get the league office involved.
Yeah,
you
review.
get replay involved.
Yeah,
you're sure that it's clearly a horse collar tackle that was used before you would take the step of awarding a touchdown. I just think, bottom line, even though the term palpably unfair act shows up in the rule book 17 times. No one wants to ever have to say, we're giving you a touchdown, even though you didn't score a touchdown. That's just against the whole culture of officiating the game, even though it's in the rule book. And that's one of the things that always drives me crazy. If you're not going to use it, take it out of the rule book. It looks bad to have rules that you just look the other way on. And I feel like they've always kind of looked the other way, just like the Tomlin thing. It should have been a touchdown for the Ravens that night. It was a palpably unfair act. You got a guy who's supposed to be on the sideline, and even though he didn't intend to do it, he's on the field, trips the guy up. They should have given him a touchdown. But I don't think, because they never use it, the officials aren't even wired to think about it. It's not even on their radar screen during the game.
You're right.
They just don't use it. So it's kind of a weird thing anyway, but it was a fun little postscript to the game. And again, one of the reasons we're here is to spot those issues, pull those threads, start those conversations. We're trying to make the sport better, and we're trying to make the rules reflect and the application of the rules reflect what the league wants. What do they want? Do they want to encourage defensive players to use the horse collar tackle in the open field like that to prevent a touchdown? I don't think they do. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.